Hello students. So as I had promised you that I'll come up with a video for prioritizing your chapters for your exams in the best manner, and I'll provide you the technique for that. So here I am for the same purpose. So this technique will be helpful for all the students who are preparing for the exams, whether you are CA student or not, and whether you are CA foundation student, CA inter student or CA final student. Okay. So let's get started. I believe that you have already like sorted out which subject to do when, so I'm not going in depth for that. So let's say you pick a particular subject and we start prioritizing on the basis of chapters, that which chapter we need to do firstly and which chapters we need to focus on. So that's really important for you guys. Okay, so this is the 4-step process, and before going on with the first step, I believe that you guys have already gone through once with your course, as you're already starting preparations for your exams. So you would have definitely like gone through the chapters in your tuition classes or by your own self at least, right? So now the first step is you take the index of that subject or note down the chapter names in your notebook. Okay, then once you do that, you need to quantify the chapters. So you can, like, if it's a theory subject, then you can quantify it by number of pages or number of questions on the in that subject, or that you can say chapter rather. And if it's a practical subject, then you can just quantify it by number of sums you are going to practice, or you can quantify it by number of concepts which you are going to cover in that chapter. Okay, and then you need to estimate the time required for yourself to complete that chapter. So you just write that time required beside the name of that chapter for each and every chapter of the syllabus. Okay, so once you are done with that, we'll move forward to the second step. So this was your first step. Now the second step is the one which I believe many of the students misses out on that. So it's we need to categorize the chapters in 3 categories, and the first one is, you can say, a strong or easy category. The strong means you really have an expertise on this chapter and you are really confident on that. So you feel that this chapter is quite easy for me, right? So that's the one category. Then another category is medium or average. So you can say it's medium expertise which I possess in this chapter, and it's average like expertise or average level of confidence you are having in that chapter. Okay, so that's another category. And the third category is hard or weak. So either you are really weak in that chapter and you find it really hard to like you don't have really much confidence on that, and you find it hard to perform in that chapter. Okay, so these are the 3 main categories in which you need to categorize all the chapters first. You just see the chapter name and you can open the chapter and like turn the pages, and you'll understand that okay, this is the chapter which is really easy for me, or this is the chapter which is really hard for me, or this chapter requires some work, some concepts are very strong, but some concepts need some working on them. So accordingly you can just categorize on this basis. Okay, and again, you need to do it for your own self. Okay, you don't copy from anyone that okay, we both friends are doing this categorization, okay, he is doing this as hard chapter, so I also must do it as hard chapter. No, if you are finding it as an average chapter for yourself, then you write it as average, and accordingly you do it. Okay, so this is like end of the second step. Now the third step is categorizing the chapter on the basis of their weightage. So how will you categorize on the basis of weightage? Either you can just have the help of your faculty or in reference book. If ICAI has provided you with the weightage of marks, then you can also consider them definitely, and accordingly you write it down beside the name of the chapters, that okay, this chapter contains this much weightage. For example, capital gain chapter in CA final, so you can write that okay, this chapter contains 10 to 15 marks of weightage. It can be range also, mostly range is there. There is no specific number of marks which you can allot to them. So you categorize them accordingly on the basis of weightage. Also, if you have got some time for preparation, then you should you must go through some old papers of exams, like last 5 or 10 papers if they're available for you with the same exam pattern. Then you should refer them, and on each questions you can write, okay, this question is from this chapter, this is from this chapter, and calculate by yourself. So that would be a best practice if you really have some time for that. Okay, otherwise you can go with previous options. Now the fourth step is combining all the 3 steps which you followed beforehand, which is really important to decide the exact priority of the chapters which you are going to do. I mean, of course you need to cover the whole syllabus. It's not that we are skipping any chapters, but which we are focusing more. That's what we are talking about. So here you have already, let's take an example for better understanding in this step. So if there is income from salary chapter in CA final, so you know that this chapter, if you go with step 1 quantification, this is really lengthy chapter. Then you come to step 2, okay, this is strong or weak for me. So if that is, for example, it's weak chapter for you. And then you come to third step, weightage. Weightage is just 0 to 4 marks. It can be 0 also, or it can be 4 also, like in between. Okay, so now you will think that if I'm already weak in this chapter and it's having such less weightage and such more time which I need to give it, then definitely I'll keep it in the last priority, right? And if it's a, let's say, a high weightage chapter, for example, amalgamation in accounting has 16 marks weightage, let's say. So that will be like, okay, now let me go to the first step. It will definitely consume lot of time. That's there. But then let's say I am strong in that, in the second category, and it's having a good weightage. So then it's up to you. You can just do it once in the beginning and grab those marks, that okay, I'll secure my 14 to 16 marks out of those 16. Okay, and another option, you can just think that okay, I'm really strong in that, so I don't want to give too much time on that, I'll do it at last. So it totally depends on you. Okay, so this is how you need to decide for each and every chapter and all the subjects, I would say. It will help that okay, you're not giving too much time on this particular chapter unnecessarily, or you are like giving some chapter very less time while they require actually more time for better results. And the most important thing here is, again, I would say, it's personalization. It depends on person to person, and you are not going to copy anyone, or you don't need to follow any faculty. Okay, this chapter is going to be done first only, or so on. Or you shouldn't like copy anyone's idea. That's why I also said that most of the people do this mistake of going by weightage only, that this chapter contains this much weightage, let's do it first, or let this chapter contains only this much less weightage, so let's not do it, or skip it, or do it at last. That's not like 100% secured way of doing it. So I would say that if you go with all these 4 steps, I hope you perform really well and give your best in the exams. Okay, and yeah, so one more thing I'd like to add here for the 4th step is that you can decide, like, it's not so easy, I'm just saying, but it's not so easy to decide always in each and every chapter considering all the factors, right? Then in that case, what you can do, you can just write a mock test, which is really important. It is really helpful for you. You can either write a mock test in your any of the classes or from ICI, or you can even write it by yourself at home or library or wherever. But you should write it in exam conditions, so that you can decide that okay, this chapter needs more focus, this chapter can be managed, and so on. Okay guys, so I wish you really best of luck, and if you have any questions, doubts regarding exams, then you can definitely comment and I will try to help you out for the same. Okay, thank you, bye.